Monday show on YouTube, which was YouTube only, that was not a podcast. So if you missed that, go check it out. We talked about some of the comments of Rich Scangarello. I found out we've been saying it wrong this whole time, not Scangarello. Scangarello. He was on the Tapeheads podcast with Bob Wischusen and Greg Cosell, and it was so I listened to it. Grant Cohn gets the credit for finding it. One of the quotes on the podcast were, "Do you want a guy who throws it hard and 70 yards, or a guy that runs really fast? Or do you want a guy that throws with anticipation, on time, allows yak, processes, a natural leader, those qualities?" Now, I listened to it. He was never directly necessarily talking about Trey Lance, but I mean, that's what we're talking about here. And so I think it's not a leap at all to reach the conclusion that he would have preferred Mac Jones to Trey Lance. Part of that is that
he had 3 guys to rank. 2 of them fit the one category, and the other guy's the opposite, right?
Justin Fields, Trey Lance, and Mac Jones. Yeah. Part of this too is that there has been in the John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan era, there have not been a lot of leaks that you could there have not been a lot of leaks, period. B, anything that comes out is hard to attach to those two. I would say on the internet streets in the last month, there's been a lot of smoke on a lot of people not connected to each other, DMing. I got a text the other day, Scangarello and Kyle did not get along. DMs from people. Scangarello played golf with this guy and told him he hates Trey. Scangarello, there's a lot. Scangarello talks to a lot of people. And again, I thought he was good on this podcast. At one point, they asked him about Trey Lance in the class, and he kind of skipped over Trey and went to Malik Willis. So, I think it's fair to say that there's a lot there. So we can talk about some of what he said, but I wanted to get this specific theory to you. Because I have been hammering, I've been hammering this. Last year before the draft, there were a lot of reporters that said the Niners were going to draft Mac Jones, national reporters. And after they didn't, and you and I both predicted Trey Lance before the draft, after they didn't, all the guys that predicted that the Niners would draft Mac Jones got roasted for just making stuff up. And my take at that time, and I've maintained this, is that I didn't think all those guys got it wrong just coincidentally and out of nowhere.
You thought it was the Mike Shanahan. Now we know it's Rich.
I think Scangarello is the reason everybody thought it was. That's just a theory. I don't know that, but I think he's the reason. Maybe we'll get Albert Breer and Peter Schrager on the pod and guests and source guests. I think maybe we can connect those dots and say this is the reason.
Well, here would be my question. Rich, and we talked about this yesterday. If we played this game in most draft rooms, you could find a position coach in half of them, of maybe in the Jags, he wanted Aiden Hutchinson. Maybe the team that the Lions, their defensive line coach would have rather had Jordan Davis than Aiden Hutchinson. Maybe the corner that, it's like you could play this game. So what could he be telling all the reporters that put all their chips in the middle of the table, that he was the quarterback coach? He wasn't even the play caller, let alone the decision maker. Could he have just been lying to them that Kyle, or hoping that he could use them to pressure? Here's the other thing. You start doing this, eventually John and Kyle, who have a lot of juice, are going to ask Peter King or Schrager, where are you hearing this from? Right now, old school Big J's aren't going to ruin their source.
No, can't do that.
But it's kind of clear, where's this coming from, right? Because I think part of it, we thought it was the Shanahan family. Here's the irony. We think the way he's describing a quarterback is the way that Kyle thinks, right? That's Kyle. This guy feels like from Kyle the way to look at quarterbacks. And then Kyle pivoted, and this guy was left on an island of thinking the old school way because Kyle wants to go new school, which might be the case. But regardless what this guy thinks, why does it matter? That's my question. Why does it fucking matter who Rich wanted? I just don't think it will. I'm not saying to you. I'm just saying in general. Why does it? He wanted Mac Jones. I'd say, yeah, I'd get rid of Rich too. If I was John Lynch, I'd be like, get this guy out of the building. He doesn't like.
Well, I think the biggest reason it's relevant information is because there is a school of thought out there that, in fact, what Rich wanted is what Kyle wanted, and that Kyle got talked into Trey Lance.
I guess what I'm saying, if this quote would have came out a week before the draft, anonymous from a 49ers offensive coach would be like, God, Kyle Shanahan thinks like that, right? This would have read like Kyle Shanahan's quote.
Sure. But remember what Kyle Shanahan's press conference was. You want a guy that does all the things, right? And the guy that,
because he was angry because he felt like they were trying to push him back against a wall to have.
But he's not wrong. But here's what we know: the guy that has the athletic skills has a chance to be the complete package. The guy that doesn't does not. Now, the greatest quarterback of all time does not have the athletic skills that we're talking about, right?
No.
But the point is just
he fits Rich's.
He fits, yeah. But I think the reason it's relevant is because that school of thought, I think it's a good sign for the 49ers in some ways, right?
That they got rid of Rich?
I got rid of Rich. I was whatever. But just that line of thinking created a disagreement with Kyle. Perhaps. Maybe there was just a personal whatever. And as you pointed out yesterday, it bears repeating, he did get a good job.
Yes.
The Kentucky offensive coordinator job's a good job.
As we talked about on the YouTube stream yesterday, I would say most people that listen to us and DM us think like, oh, they just fired him and he took some shitty job at Kentucky. The Kentucky offensive coordinator job pays $900,000. $900,000, and they win. I think they've averaged 10 wins the last.
They finished
3
second
years.
in their division in the SEC last year.
I think their head coach has got like an 8-year extension. Like they're a big time SEC program right now. So he hired a guy that, I mean, he's replacing a Rams, offensive coordinator who went from the Rams to Kentucky, now back to the Rams. Like, they like the Shanahan, McVay, that offense, right? That's what they like running in Kentucky. But I also think that people act like he just went to Cal Poly, because I would say historically you went to Kentucky football. Who would take that job? It's the SEC is a different animal now.
Yeah.
Just turn on a random ESPNU Saturday afternoon, and when SEC baseball's on, it looks like Jesus Christ. There's 18,000 people there.
One other thing he said. They asked him about small school guys, and they were like Josh Allen or Trey Lance or Malik Willis, and he talked about Josh Allen and Malik Willis and did not talk about Trey Lance.
Maybe he just doesn't like Trey Lance, and which is okay if you just don't like the player.
There's no I'm not in any way killing Rich Scangarello. He might be right.
Yeah,
he might be right. Right. We hate to say that, but I thought what was interesting was he talked about how much he loved Josh Allen coming out in the draft. And do you remember what draft that was for the 49ers? This got me thinking about this particular. It was the 2018 draft.
McGlinchey?
So that was
They took McGlinchey.
That was the McGlinchey draft. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they took that. McGlinchey got picked at, do you remember what number? 9.
And Josh was 7.
So the question is,
you're saying Rich was on that staff, right?
Rich was on that staff. Was he on that staff?
But Jimmy was on the team then.
Yeah. I just wanted to go down I played out the string of could you make the case the Niners should have traded, because that was not Buffalo's pick. It was Tampa's pick. And Buffalo did not have to trade that much. Buffalo traded 12 and 2 2s for 7 and a 7th. So to move up from 12 to 7, they traded 2 2s, which is not nothing. But to get your franchise quarterback, it's not trading 2 additional 1s.
Do you think they regret that trade? Is that the easiest trade that they'll ever make?
The easiest trade they'll ever make. Okay.
I guess okay, sorry.
Let me just finish this because I think you could argue, well, what would the Niners have traded to get from 9 to 7? What do you think? At least a 2, maybe 2 2s, maybe a 2 and a 3. They didn't have 2 2s. So maybe they would have traded 44 and 70, which were Dante Pettis and Fred Warner. Or maybe they would have traded the 18 second and a 2019 the next year, 2 2s, right? And that would have been Deebo Samuel. So in any event, there was just a separate.
I guess my overall take, though, is that like a position coach, every position coach in the league evaluates their position. Sometimes if you think the guy's good, you let him evaluate other offensive players or defensive players, depending on what side of the ball. They have opinions like a scout. And you spend all this time doing the work. You end up getting to know them. You meet them at the combine. You may go to pro days. And you just develop. You like individuals and you don't like other ones. What's a little weird on this one, it's one thing not liking Trey the player. Maybe you think his arms, the loopy release. Like I could see, like, you just don't like running quarterbacks. You fall under the mold of what we thought Kyle was. But it feels like he doesn't like him personally almost a little bit. Because here's the thing. he refused to say his name, right? Well,
part of that might be like, I don't want to, like if I were going to defend him, I'd say anything I say with Trey Lance's name is in it. If I'm I don't want to kill the kid. Maybe he likes him. He doesn't want to criticize him.
But he's already saying stuff that's getting, and he knows what's going to happen when he goes on.
But if he were to say Trey Lance is not as smart as they think he is, or something like that.
No, but my thing, what's weird is that if I don't like Guy Haberman, the player, and my team drafts Guy Haberman, well, then if I spend a year around him, even if I don't like you, the player, but it's like, God, I really like the guy, I would start rooting for you. I'd be like, I hope he improves. I'm going to coach him up. How do you spend a year around a guy who's the quarterback coach every single day? Those 2 guys, 3 guys, and it felt like him and Jimmy were getting along really well. Well, Rich would be sitting right there with a Diet Coke, bullshitting with him. A little weird. Maybe Trey found out early on this guy, because again, if I was Trey and I found out like this guy did not want to draft you, that could get out. Which it's not like the players would know. So would Kyle tell him? I don't know. Feels like their relationship.
You could just feel an energy from a person, right? They don't.
Yeah, this guy didn't like me.
Yeah.